No, I would just pay attention to what I'm doing, I think. Yeah, and then that way after you guys can go and you can try to like replicate it. All right, share your screen. Yeah, so okay, do you guys see that or no? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. It's really small? Oh, well, yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, and it looks good? Okay, perfect. Okay, all right, cool. So I wanted to do this because it's been a little bit since we met last, and a lot of things have been added and changed and fixed and whatnot. And so I wanted to go over some of the details with you guys. Um, I mean, it's probably not exhaustive in the sense that like it's not going to be like 1,000% everything or 100% everything, but it's something to discuss. So I'm gonna go through things kind of fast, because this could take really long, and then I guess we can open it to questions as I finish like a section. So like we'll do journal, and then at the end of journal, if we can open it for like I don't know like 5 minutes of questions, and then move on to the next thing. I just don't want to get like bogged down because there may be people that have to leave and they're waiting to get to another section. Um, so you can always sidebar with me later. But okay, so all right, so journal here. You have your utility bar. If you weren't aware, um, you can actually modify what you see here. Like what metrics you see in this area. So this is your utility bar right here. So like if you go to settings, um, utility bar right here, you can actually pick, I believe you can have up to 6 things here. So there may be some metrics that you want, and you might not have been aware that this even exists. All right, so that's that. And then these are your KPIs, so key performance indicators. Here you can sort the cards by in the money, out of the money, uncovered, cash secured puts, covered calls. So you can like pick how you want this to be sorted. So that's important to realize. You have this little eyeball, right? And so the eyeball is there to like it either reveals or like it can hide it for you, or make it visible. Account manager. So there's a really big change that's coming, but we haven't been approved yet. And so I'm going to cover that real quick. But essentially what I've been working on is I applied as a developer for Charles Schwab and Thinkorswim. The reason why I did that was I've discovered that there's actually a way as a developer to apply for an export of transaction to history. And so LSO is in the process of, or I don't know, maybe they already released that. I haven't been there in months, but their roadmap is that they're going to let you trade from LSO. And so I didn't want to do that. I just think there's way too much liability. And I never want to open the door for people to think that I'm trying to like scam them or whatever. So I was like, okay. But Deez or Josh has really been helping me a lot with the import. And he had a lot of issues with it. And he's the reason why the import is accurate today. However, I was at a party a week ago Friday, and he texted me. He was like, oh, it's wrong again. And I almost had a heart attack because I spent the whole week trying to fix it. And, like then later he texted me. He was like, oh, no, never mind. It's right. Right. And so, but that scare, I was like, okay, I've got to just find a permanent solution. So we can actually do an import directly from Schwab. It does it every 5 minutes. And that'll be 100% accurate because it's just an import, right? Like directly, it's raw. So, and it's only your transaction history. So there's no like, there's nothing that can be done nefariously, or like if somebody was to hack into your account on LP, they can't do anything with that other than just look at all the money you have. All right. So, so that's coming. And once that comes, the Schwab import, I'm getting rid of it. because it's really hard to actually to support all these different imports because the data comes in differently from all the different sources. And so I don't want to have to be responsible for continuing to support any changes that they make. So instead, if you want to just do the import, you can. That'll come directly from Schwab. And it actually has the timestamps, which is really, in my opinion, is the main thing that Thinkorswim does better. So anyway, enough of that. When I release it, I'll do a bigger detail on it for you guys. But anyway, so when you come here, you can actually create the account. You type in the name here, that activates this, and you can add the account. And then you can pick what kind of import it's going to be. I'm currently recommending Thinkorswim account statement as your import source because it's the only way to bring in timestamps. And timestamps are really important. If you could imagine, you entered a trade at 9 and then at 3 o'clock, you rolled it. Right? That looks like a different trade unless you have, or sorry, it'll look like the same trade or possibly a different trade if you don't have timestamps. So that stuff is like really important. But I made it work with the Schwab transaction history, similar to how they do it over there. Whatever. So you can name the account however you want. And here is starting capital. This is if you use the Schwab transaction history because Schwab doesn't have everything. And so it doesn't account for like starting balances. So if there's a discrepancy, you have to come in here and save it. This does not apply to Thinkorswim accounts or imports because Thinkorswim has all of your data. So whatever. You have an import history. You can go back and you can look to see what issues there were. This probably needs to become more robust, I think, for testing. But that's basically this in a nutshell. And then you just upload it here. That's that. You also have this view if you like more of like a spreadsheet view and you don't like the cards. Okay, let's talk about the cards for a second. So the cards have had a bunch of additions. First off, right here, there's a little box next to the ticker. This is a note field, and you can put whatever you want in here, and it persists. This was actually the genesis of that was Dee's because he had a process. And that process was that he would write notes about tickers when he would do research on Sundays. And so I thought, okay, how do I make it so that he doesn't have to write that stuff down and everything can just be here? Like I'm really trying to push a point where like everything that you need to do with your options trading is here other than actually taking the trade, right? Like that part, I don't want it here. I don't care to have that issue. Anyway, so that's that. I talked to you about the eyeball. There's a details section, right? So that brings you here. You can look at the chart. You have all your performance, exit, returns. You have a campaign flow, so you can actually kind of just go through and follow along all the different steps that took place on this trade or continue to take place. And then you just have a raw transaction history, which you can review and make sure that everything matches up. If we go back, so whatever, you can hit back there. So there's like a little dollar symbol here. And this is actually kind of interesting, right? Because this is your current campaign card, right? And this just gives you the math, right? On what the position looks like right now. So right now, this position is upside down by 88%, I believe is what that's saying there, right? And so you can look at what your roll history is, what your timeline is. And then you can kind of scroll down and then there's like a key here that kind of tells you what each thing is, right? So you have option premium, you have a stock buy, and whatnot. So you have that card there. Then you have the chart, right? And so here I'm going to try to make it to my routine today because I want you guys to kind of see how I handle Sundays. But the chart is super important. And this is something that really is missing from LSO. But for right now, we can just kind of take a look at what I've created here. But basically, you just have a price chart. And then down here are the indicators. So you have your Bollinger Band. You also have RSI. So I built this in for those of you that want to use the core. You have your historical positions. This is something that I just was working on yesterday for D's. This has been here for a while, but there was an issue with it. And so I've addressed that issue now. So you can look at your historical positions. You can also look at your cost levels. You can look at when is earnings. So the last one was April 14th. Current position, which is interesting why I don't see that actually. I should see that, but I don't. Oh, because it was off of the screen. Yeah, that's how bad this position is. That's why my cost level didn't show up either, right? Because I'm so heavy, or I'm so out of the position here. So anyway, so you can kind of see there. You can also pick how far back you want to go. And so this takes a little bit to load just because it's loading more candles. So whatever, but eventually that'll load, right? And so you have your 2 years on this chart. Actually, well, real quick before we move on from this, let me pick one that's a little better because that asset has a terrible chart. So what I want to take this off. I'm going to take everything off and I'm going to go full screen and I want to show you because if I can today, I'd like to go over this concept. I mentioned this concept, I believe, on a previous call, or maybe just here at the house, but something that is this is the foundation of all my trading, the foundation, which is basically auction market theory, right? And so auction market theory is volume and it's all based on value area high, value area low, and point of control. And I'm not going to get into that like fully right now, but this is a huge thing with trading. Huge. Again, this is foundational for me. I built this in as an indicator. Part of it is knowing where to pull it because you can pull it from anywhere, but essentially what you're pulling is a fixed range volume profile. That's the full name for it, FRVP, right? And so FRVP is going to then tell you what the extremes of the range are, right? So like the way I look at this is a range that we're in. I can't draw a rectangle here yet because I haven't designed that. But if I could, I would draw kind of a range from this peak, right, down to, I actually would draw it to like here, right? And I would say like, okay, this is the range. And then you deviated from that range and then you traded back into it. Now you've deviated from it again. And so there's a whole bunch of information around auction market theory. Eventually, I'd like to teach you guys auction market theory. In the meantime, you could like talk to AI about it, or I think I gave a resource on it. It's really long, but it's something that's worth learning for those of you that are like really dedicated to the educational piece. But anyway, so I built that in here. That's like a huge thing for me. Like I said, it's the foundation. It's what I trade everything off of. So anyway, so you have your charting here. I don't have one right now, but some of you may. Oh, you see here how I like grayed it out because I had hit the little icon earlier. So there's a delay on it. I'll have to look to see why it takes so long to toggle on off, but whatever, that'll come back. So anyway, but so you may have seen that we have a purple and we have an orange, like an amber, that these cards can turn as well. And so, gosh darn it, that's driving me nuts that it won't turn back on. So the purple is an options trade that's called a strangle. So eventually I'm going to teach you guys all of these, but you might notice them. But a strangle is just that you sold a covered call and you sold a put in the same week. So that's going to be identified here. You'll actually see where it'll show you that you have the covered call. So it'll show like this. And then you're going to have a little like another 3-dimensional indentation right here that's going to show you your put. I had one this week on BMNR actually, but unfortunately I did an import and so now it's gone, which kind of sucks. I would have liked to have shown you guys that. But anyway, so that's the purple one. So if you notice that and you're like, oh, damn, what is that? It's a strangle. You can go research strangles, but essentially that's what it is. It's just a cash secured put and a covered call at the same time. There's another one, which is it's the amber color. And that's going to be if you own shares, but you didn't sell a covered call. So like, for example, let's say it's rallying. Like the stock is rallying, you got assigned at one point, and so you own the shares, but you don't want to sell a covered call because it's just really bullish and it's ripping up. So you say, damn, you know what? I am going to sell a covered call because I got the signal this week for, a cash secured put because I got the signal this week, right? So then that's going to be amber, because essentially what it's telling you is you have shares that are uncovered, and you have an active cash secured put. All right, so just to kind of whatever. No idea what's wrong with that. That's gonna piss me off. I don't know. I gotta look into that. Okay, so anyway, so that's that. If you have more than one account, you have a drop down here that you can pick from as well. Interesting. I don't know why that's happening, but it does bother me. Okay, yeah. So anyway, so what? Just real quick, this eyeball right here, essentially what it does is if you select the, the little eyeball here for the card, there it is. If you select the little eyeball for the card, when you have that, you can pick whether to reveal it or not, because maybe you don't want them to show. So, but again, I don't know why it's kind of laggy. I have to figure that out. I didn't notice that before. Okay, so anyway, so that is this section in a nutshell. Oh, wait, no, negative. I'm sorry. I apologize. Here you have your closed positions. This is a new add-on, kind of an Easter egg. This shows you like a card for your closed position. You can actually have it as a table view, which is the old view. But I wanted to do something a bit more... to have the same level of detail, but for you to be able to look at a glance how you did in these positions. So the genesis of this was that on this DraftKings trade, I had a situation on a Friday where I was in a covered call that I was chasing. Now the rule there is you've got to keep rolling it, right? Or you have to allow assignment, and then there's a couple different ways that you can deal with that situation. I guess we won't get into that now because that's a strategy thing. But what happened to me was around 3:30. So I have an alarm every day that goes off at 3. And I was slammed working on a different project that they're paying me for. And so I was working on that project and I lost track of what was going on. 4 o'clock rolled around. The next day, I came back and I was working on logical patterns again. And I noticed that DraftKings wasn't in my import. And I said, what? And so the shares got called away. So one of the reasons why I've been focusing a lot on alerts now is to make sure that we have alerts that like are screaming at you if this is happening, right? But so anyway, so I was like, okay, I want to be able to look at the transaction history and see like, well, how much did I actually make on each of these, right? And so anyway, so this one, I don't know, I was up like on my total P&L at that point. Not my P&L, my like my total premium collected was over 20,000 or something like that. So I did take a big hit. This is a $4,000 loss. But overall, since I started, I'm up like, I don't know, 18,000 or something like that. So yeah, I ate it on this, but it's a valuable lesson, and we'll talk about alerts later when we go to look at them in the other section. But so anyway, so that inspired me to go and say like, okay, how much did I make on each of these campaigns, right? And to be able to look, right, and know like, hey, this worked or this didn't. So interestingly enough, on this IRIN, I did a BTC, a buy to close on this one, because I had been chasing and it looked like I was in the green or in the black, I guess. And I closed it, and lo and behold, I was not. And so, this is again valuable information to have after the fact for you to say like, oh, okay, I should do this or I should do that. And so part of the reason why it's so important that you guys use that Thinkorswim import is that I'm going to show you here later, is I created something called the playbook, right? And the playbook is based off of case studies, my case studies, Mike's case studies, and actually some of the case studies from the old group. And I put those together, and then I did like a deep analysis on them. And then I went through like my trading history, and I came up with a playbook, right? What I'd like to do is if everyone brings in their Thinkorswim data, or if we, once I get the Charles Schwab API where it'll just pull in your information, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to take trades like this and like this from everybody, right? And for it to dissect what you guys did, what worked and what didn't work. And then this way we can enhance the playbook. We can enhance role intelligence and say, oh, you know what? These are the statistics. The statistics show this, right? And to make all of us stronger with stronger recommendations. So there'll be an opt-out. Like if people don't want that, that's fine. Either way, the information's anonymous, right? Because it's just looking at the transaction history. But if you guys don't want to contribute to that, that's fine. But the more people that we have, like allowing their data to be kind of scraped, the more powerful it becomes. So anyway, so yes, you can go through here and you can look at the history for each of the campaigns at a glance. And then you have your transactions. Now this, I want to discuss. This really, I don't think applies to us. I built this for Freestyle Mike, and I thought it just made sense. I think down the road, as we start to do things like strangles and we start to do more advanced trading, which, eventually that would be the idea. You may need to do some of this, but essentially here you can create a new campaign or you can move. So what that means is if for some reason the import was wrong, right? Or, something went wrong here, you can actually move the transaction history and apply it to a different campaign. If you do that, you're on your own in the sense that like I designed the import and I tried to do the very best I could so it would be exactly accurate. I don't think any of us are taking any like super complex trades where we would need to do this, but it's here for the future or if you find something that is wrong. Okay, and then last but not least, I want to talk about this little bubble right here. This is something that I created. I called it signals. You can give ideas, feature requests, or bug reports. And I do my best to try to check this like once a week. But sometimes stuff happens. But so anyway, so if you find anything, you can actually create a bug report and you can attach a screenshot to it. Super helpful. The more detail you give, the better the signal strength is. You see it here kind of grayed out. So, I don't know if I just start like typing, you see like right now it's, my old man eyes are struggling, but I think it says faint signal, and so then you can keep going. And then whatever, like the more detail you give, the stronger the signal strength. If you put a screenshot or 2 or 3, the stronger the signal strength. And then that just helps me. So I don't have to be like, hey, you know what? I don't understand what you said. I don't get it. Right. Or I can't find it. So, so that's here to kind of streamline our process of feedback. Okay. So that is Journal, I think, in a nutshell. Is there any questions about this area? Yeah, you're good. Yeah, so I responded to your, yeah, I did, because you gave you sent a signal for that, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, so I responded, but I never heard back from you. But so the issue is can you go ahead and say something again, George?
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So you can't have the Schwab and the Thinkorswim. If you do that, it duplicates trades because it's so like I was explaining earlier, I had to create the import has to be created in a way that it looks for duplicates. right? So it's called a parser. So that parser is grabbing, it's like grabbing data, and then it's saying like, oh wait, these two trades look the same, so don't duplicate them, right? So this is a duplicate because there's no timestamps in the Schwab CSV. And so then, so I had to build kind of an intelligent import. So the response to that is you need to delete both, right? And I think that's what I sent you in the message. Hold on, actually, and I can kind of show you guys.
Yeah, show me how to delete. That's the part that I couldn't figure out.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so you go here and there's a trash can right here. So you just delete.
Okay.
Yeah. So then delete it, create a new one, do think or swim, and then, you know, make sure you pick the correct one, you know, whatever, and then just upload and you're good to go.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
good.
Okay. And here I can kind of show you, like, this is what Signals looks like for me, right? So actually, and D's, if you're there, oh my gosh. Holy cow. Lorenzo, let this dog out right now. I mean, if he didn't poop behind me, I have no idea. My gosh. Bro, he just fumigated the office. My gosh. Okay, so D's, I was working on this when I had to leave to the game. I think it's fixed, but I haven't confirmed it yet, just so you know. But anyway, so this is what I see, right? And so, like, you know, he sends me the screenshot. That's like super helpful, right? If I don't have a screenshot, I just read this and I'm like guessing. So again, the more detail, the better. But anyway, just to kind of show you that. Oh, you know what would be great is if I could sort by user. That would be kind of cool, actually. Okay. So sorry. Okay. So does that answer your question, George?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have a question about journal before we continue on?
Yes. Is there
what's the
a
tag?
way?
Whoop.
Oh, sorry.
Ladies first, bro.
Yep.
That notes feature, is
Yeah.
there a way to get that, or maybe this already exists? I keep track of all my trades on a separate Excel sheet, we'll call it. And I write notes in one of the cells. Is there a way to see the notes kind of like in that format for each trade that keeps track of every trade that you've taken in that leg of the campaign, so you can see the notes as well?
Is there a way? Yeah, there's a way to do it. It doesn't exist right now, but
Okay.
I'm just trying to think. Are you saying like after the trade is over, like close positions, or you would want it like during the
Actively.
active campaign?
Yeah, so kind of like what you have for transactions. So like if there were like a field for notes, just so you can keep track of your notes there.
Sorry, I'm just writing down. Notes for transaction.
So I can understand, okay, why I took that move or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, per trade. Yeah, I can build it. That's no problem. I can do that. I just have to get there. If you can always send a signal. I wrote it down, but if you want to send like a feature request, that way it's there, because right now feature requests, I'm accumulating them. I want to make sure that everything, you know, I've been very focused on Intel. The import situation has distracted me a lot, but I think we're in a good place there. So, so I keep trying to like tighten up Intel, because I think that's a big deal. So yes, but if you could send that, I wrote it down anyway. So I will create it. D's, go for it.
Tag feature.
Say that again. Oh, tag feature. Thank you. Yes. And actually, she said something. Actually, I'm going to go to tag in a second. But she just said something. Oh, yeah, here. Okay, perfect. So inside of this view, you'll notice there's a fundamentals tab and a technicals. Let me just take a step back. So there's a lot, right? That's why I thought it was really important that we have this call. Is like there's a lot of information, right? And there's a lot of like I've tried to limit noise, and so I tried to keep things that are nice to haves but not needed, and so I tried to make those kind of minimalist. And so once we're done, I'm gonna do another UI UX pass over the entire site, and try to tighten it up even more. But for now, this is kind of what you get. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys this. So I added this because I thought, you know, what if they're working on a trade, right? Like they're involved in a trade and they want to know what the fundamentals are for this company, right? So I added this section here, right? It'll bring you to fundamentals. Now, sadly, there actually is supposed to be a button here that says back to whatever. And I don't see that here. So it looks like I forgot to implement that. Let me see if it's there for technicals. Hey, let the dog in, bro. He's barking. Gosh darn it, man. I have to think for you. So anyway, so if you want, again, this will be here. I will fix that. It exists in other areas, but it's not here. But anyway, so this will bring you to technicals and it'll bring you to fundamentals. So I forgot about that little tidbit. And what you're also going to get here is you're going to get a link to Intel, so that if you're looking at this campaign and you say, man, you know what? I think I have to roll this. Instead of having you like click here to go there, I actually want there to be something here. I have to figure out how to make it, because again, I don't want to like clutter things, but I would like for there to be a click that takes you to the playbook for this trade. So that way you're just like instantly go there and you can come back to this page. Okay, tags. All right, so why are there tags? So tags is a way to put what strategy you use to get into the trade. So you can put like CFA, CFC. Is it a pro macro trend? Is it a retail entry? And then you have some other options here. For right now, I'm going to say don't use this. I've been experimenting with it, but there's some things that I think don't hold up. This is going to be really important later. Well, I don't know about really important, but it'll be a nice to have. And I will explain to you why once we get to Intel, okay? But that's what tags is. So tags right now is just how you tag a trade for what pattern was used to get into it, okay? All right, are we good on this section? Nobody else has any questions? I just keep rolling. All right. Hang on a second. Okay. Reports section. This is pretty much the same. There's not a lot that's happened here. There are some things that are coming. And so if you look down here, you can actually see recently closed campaigns, and you could see kind of just within the reports section, the last X amount of trades. And you can see how you did, right? So everything's going splendidly well. Since I got logical patterns for the most part. So whatever, but this is all pretty much the same. You have your weekly cash flow. Huh. What the hell happened there? Well, that's not good. I guess nobody's checked this recently, because that's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I have to check that. I don't know why that's missing. Hold on, let me write that down. I'm not sure what bugged out there, but something did. Weekly cash flow. Let's as when we go to do let me just right here, reports, right? So when we go to do the final UI UX, this will be something to look at, right? It's like, what are we using, what are we not, and then maybe we get rid of some stuff. But whatever. So I don't know why this is not here, but it should be. Okay, you have your tickers section. This is going to tell you what essentially like your leaderboard, right? And then it's going to give you statistics. It's going to give you statistics on your leaderboard. Then you can also go to your campaign archive. Maybe some redundancy here with the journal closed transactions area or closed positions. So again, we'll look at redundancy in the future, but you can, get in here, you could dig in. Any feedback on this, again, like if there's something that's not working, let me know. I haven't really been messing with reports myself, so I understand. And then holdings. So holdings is, what have you been assigned shares on? And what does it look like, present day, right? And so like on this position, I'm upside down $679. On this position, I'm upside down $4,250, because that's what it's lost in equity. Right now, these are unrealized losses because I still own the shares. What you saw with DraftKings, that's a realized loss because those shares got taken away from me. So now I can't redeem myself. That's not literally true. I can explain that maybe at the end of the call, because I did, I've done a lot of digging on chasing, and it's why I've been so focused on Intel. But there actually is a way, like when you, I'll explain that later, I guess. But anyway, so here you can kind of dig in and you can look at, okay, these are the shares that I own, and this is what my outlook is. Probably should add some kind of a font thing here because that is crazy small for my old man eyes. Okay, that's reports. Any questions there? Okay, awesome. All right, keep it moving. Okay, so I recently added this, I think, in the last week, because this is, like I said, a really big part of the Sunday process. And I wanted to say, like, okay, I don't want to go to TradingView anymore. Although I like TradingView a lot, but it's just like another thing I have to open, and I want to do everything here. Okay, so what I did was, you can look up any ticker you want, right? But I also wanted to be able to say, based off of watch list, right? So now when you change the watch list, it gives you the tickers that belong to that watch list below. Here you can pick the time frame. So you can go to a 5-minute chart all the way up to a monthly chart, okay? And then you could do a look back period. So 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, or less, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll look at Hood here. And so we're gonna do a 1 year chart on Hood daily, right? Okay, so here's our chart, and I am going to expand that now. Do you guys see that? Oh yeah, okay. So now I have all my indicators here, right? All the ones that I've selected. I also included for this section the ability to draw out a line and label it, So like, I don't know, maybe this, you say, okay, this is my target, right? And so now that shows up here, okay? You can also edit this line. If you click here, you can change the color, and you could change the price point, or you can delete it or save it. Okay. And so this, I don't know, this might just be like something that it might be like a level that you deem important. Okay. Now, if you disable the magnet, then you could put it anywhere. If you have magnet on, then it's going to like pop to the to the candle or to the wick. Okay. So, but if you want to draw the line in the middle and you don't want to have constraints, then you disable the magnet and you just knock out a line. And you can have multiple lines. So I don't know. Again, there's no magnet here, right? So I could just put it wherever I want. Click anywhere on the chart. There it is. So I'm just going to put target 2. Bruh. Hey, close the doors. Close my door. Close my door, please. Sorry, I got kids here. So anyway, whatever. So you have this. And then if you want to add another line, you can do it again, and so you can just put it here and whatever. And so now you have those, and then, you have the ability to remove them as well. Actually, that's interesting. Hold on, because I hadn't seen that before. Cancel. Okay. Hold on. Let me write that down real quick, because that's something that I guess I hadn't done before. Times 2 can't delete. Second. Okay, so I'll fix that as well, because right now it looks like I can't delete that. Okay, so anyway, so you have your magnet here, you have your zoom. Your zoom allows you to do this, right? And now you can just look at that price action there, and then you can refresh it, and it unzooms you. And then I already told you about the magnet.
I was able to delete mine.
Yeah, but did you do two? Yeah, but did you do 2 lines?
Oh no.
Sorry, yeah. No, the issue is that there's no way to go back and delete the second one. So that's what I've got to fix that. So it's no big deal. I'll fix that later. That'll be quick. So you have the magnet, which is going to magnetize to the candles or the wicks. You have your zoom, and then you have your full screen view. Since we're here, we'll just kind of talk about it. But so you have the line, you have the fixed range volume profile, which I showed you earlier. You have your RSI, you have your earnings. Right? So here you see 2, right? This was the most recent earning, which was April 28th. And then the upcoming is going to be July 28th. Okay? So you can kind of see that and keep track. You have your historical position. So these are all the trades that I've taken on Robinhood, right? Oh, I'm sorry. And you can also like it kind of expand and compress with your scroll wheel, okay? And if you notice, like if I go up and down, it doesn't do anything here. But if I go to the access and I do that, then it allows me to move it around. Okay. So that's historical positions, cost level, and cost level is going to give you what your strike is. So this was your original strike. This is your recovery price, and this is your basis. So let's talk about those for a second. So we'll go from bottom to top. Okay. So, or sorry, no, let's go top to bottom. So your strike, this was your original trade. Okay. $138, right? I got assigned on this trade, right? At $138. So I own the shares. And then I've been rolling and, doing other activities to, selling new cash secured puts, all of that. All of that basically reduces my cost basis, right? And then what it does is it gives me a recovery level. Well, what does recovery level mean? So recovery level means if it comes above here and it closes above here, but below my strike, I will still make the same amount of profit that I was supposed to make. Right? So essentially, as long as it gets above this white line, I'm good, right? I'm going to have made my profit. Now your cost basis is, let's say that it came into like between this white line and between this yellow line. And you say, you know what, bro, I've been in this trade for like 6 months and I just want to get out. Right? So I just want to get my money back. Right? Like I want to redeploy it. So as long as you get above this yellow line, your cost is covered, right? So it's like if you bought something for $100 and you're like, you know what, I really don't like it, but I'll sell it to you for what it cost me, right? That's essentially what it is. So, and then the recovery is like, look, it cost me 150, but it made me 20. I'll sell it to you for 130, right? So then now, I get like, essentially it keeps me whole, right? Okay, so that is that, and then let me just look. So you can pick between the different tickers. Oh, and the other thing is the difference with this area is what you're gonna find is actually go back to Hood real quick. What you'll find here is if, for example, let's say I was to take a fixed range profile from here to, I actually would do this whole area, right? Right. So now that's there. Yeah. So now if I go to Geo, to let it load, and I go back to Hood, it saves it. So you see here, custom layout saved for Hood, reset to defaults. Okay. So whatever you do here is saved. And the reason why is because this is where you chart, right? And so on Sunday, you might have been like, okay, this is what my plan is, right? And I've got all this stuff. I'm going to set up my lines. I've got value area high, my point of control, whatever. And then you might say like, okay, what's relevant here? I might do something like, I don't know. Maybe I would look at this and I'd say, well, I want to do another fixed range profile. Damn it, I got to go full screen because of this whisper flow thing. So I might say like, you know what, I'm going to treat this as another range that we lost, right? Shoot, messed that up. There, and so I might say like, okay, like if we come up here, I would expect a rejection from this value area low, right? So like if price would have continued bullish, this would have been an area to maybe consider selling a covered call at, because typically you would reject from here for a bit. But so anyway, so this will all save here for you. I told you that you have your ticker here. You can add a ticker to a watch list if you want as well from here. So that's that. And I think that is everything for this section. Yeah. This is everything for this section. Any questions about the chart section? All right, cool. Self-explanatory. Awesome. Let's go to scanners. So sadly, because it's a Sunday, scanners is not going to give us anything. So maybe we should do a call during the week. That way we get results here and ticker analytics. That might be helpful. But from the conversations I've been having with people, the big focus has been on what are you doing on Sunday? What are you doing to prep for the week? So we're going to focus a little heavier on here. But for right now, just because I don't, I can't show you anything here. So, well, let's start with this. The reason why this doesn't show anything is because this is specifically looking for trades that triggered Monday or beyond. So Monday to Friday, right? And so this is where it's scanning for patterns that you can trade, right? So that number one, that's why it doesn't show anything here. But you would essentially see cards here, and then those cards are going to give you a bunch of information. It's going to tell you your probability out of the money. It's going to give you your delta. It's going to tell you what the premium would be. It tells you the ticker, whatever. And then those cards in of themselves has the ability to pop up a chart. So if you want to take a look at the chart before you take the trade, you can do that. That's super helpful for me. I do that before I take every single trade. So I would say this probably warrants a call, like I said, during the week, so I can kind of show you how my thought process works. Or, what I'll do is tomorrow, maybe while I'm trading, I'll record, and then I'll submit that recording so you guys can review that. So that actually might be helpful. Okay, so here you have a button that takes you to the R&D forecast tool. This is so on a Sunday, if it's telling you like, look, CFA requires Monday's opening data, right? So here you can go and you can actually do research and see how close you are to a pattern triggering on Monday, right? So it's like, oh, we don't know because we don't have the Monday data yet, but how close are we for there to be a trade? Real quick, we'll look at filters here. You can pick your entry days. There are a couple of us that take trades on days other than Mondays. And so, you can filter by that. You can filter by minimum yield, minimum probability out of the money. You can have a delta cap. So this will be like the minimum delta. And then you can also make it so that it has to be above the 200-day simple moving average. So these are filters that you can decide on, and then you save those defaults and they save here. Okay. You can pick your patterns, right? And then obviously you have your different patterns, and then you have your freestyle. This was built for freestyle actually, because he doesn't do what we do. So, but you can tinker with this and you can come up with like your own strategy, and it'll find the trades for you that you think work, right? The only thing here is there's no back testing for this because it's freestyle. Right. So this is, you can save presets as well, right? You'll have them here and you can pick them, but you can't back test against this. Later on in the future, maybe if you save a preset, then maybe we can do some kind of a back test. But for right now, this was, again, kind of done just so that he could use the site for the way he trades, which is different than how we trade. So you have that. You have your drop downs for your watch lists. And here you can manage watch lists as well. You can import from TradingView. You can import from a CSV, or you can just create from scratch if you'd like as well. You can, did I say you can import from, TradingView, you can import from Thinkorswim, or you can just import from a simple CSV if you'd like, okay? So that is scanners. Any questions or issues with scanners for those of you that have used it during the week? Okay, I guess it's been doing a good job. Ticker analytics. So ticker analytics, this is where you could, you can check for trades against specific tickers, right? So this is your scanner. This is kind of like your catch-all, right? So like you might say, look, I want you to look at my gold, or my top 5. Let's say I want to always start with my top 5. I actually do this, by the way. So I run my scan on Monday, right? And then now I get those cards, right? And it's like, the back test results are on those cards. And it's like, that looks good for the last year, but I want to do a deeper dive on this ticker before I take this trade. So there's a button here that takes you to ticker analytics so that you could like really research it, right? So then that's going to pop you over here. And then here, you're going to get a ton of information. You're going to get a ton of back test information against that ticker, off that pattern, right? It's going to give you a decision window, and it's going to give you a bunch of information, part of which, if you guys haven't messed with the decision window, so when you take a trade, right, there's a spread, right? And so the premium might be, just to throw numbers out, the premium might be between $1 and $1.50, right? So the cheapest bid right now, or the cheapest bid may be $1, and then the most expensive is $1.50. So Freestyle, just so you guys know, he never takes trades at the lower bid. He puts it at the highest, right? And he's like, if I get the trade, awesome. But I'm not going to take the trade unless it's going to pay me maximum. He's a little bit greedy in that sense, right? And so he doesn't want to just make 1% or, whatever it is. In his case, actually, he makes less than 1% because of the way he trades. But usually anyway. But so for him, he might say like, look, it's 0.5%, right? On the low side, but on the high side, it's 0.75. He's like, it's not worth it for me to take the trade if I'm not going to get the maximum premium, right? And so then, whatever. So you can look at that and you can make a decision. And so you could look, like you'll look and, on Thinkorswim and you'll see like, oh, well, that's paying 50 cents. Yeah, but historically the spread has been up to 75 cents. So you can set that in Thinkorswim when you take that trade. Instead of just accepting that it says 50 cents for the premium, you could change that and put it to 75. And if it fills, it fills. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And you just wouldn't get that trade. So you really have to make a decision, and that's why it's called the decision window. But you have to make a decision on whether or not it's worth it to you for you to say, I just want to get in this trade, right? Because I just want to make 1% a week, right? Or it's like, oh no, I want to maximize or optimize my premium, my premium. So yeah. So you can do a weekly scan, right? That shows you what the results are for this week, right? In terms of trading. And then you could do a back test and you can look at that as well. And you can pick what period you want to do that for. Again, you have filters and settings, and so you can pick, what you want here, signal and timing. So day of the week, uptrend, max delta cap, probability out of the money, minimum yield, early exit target. I'm not going to cover that today. That's kind of an educational component. So for now, if you don't know what that is, just leave it at 100 and just hold to expire. And then you have a fast mode. This is if, you're doing like a 5-year and you want to like just get results quicker. I would caution you on this though, because that is only using a formula. It's not actually using our data source one. For anybody that is not aware, so part of the expense, right? So we landed on $100 a month to be able to use this, right? And that $100 a month, it covers hosting. But aside from hosting, because I think our hosting package, I think we're up to like, I don't know. I think we're up to like $80 a month because I had to up our storage space or whatever. I don't know. I think it was like 4 gigs and now we needed 8 gigs. And that's part of the why the site is loading faster for everybody. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Like the bigger, the higher gigabytes we get in terms of not storage, but the server, the faster the site loads. And so it can handle more queries. And so things were kind of going slow after I had asked you guys for the $100 a month. So I just kind of ate it on that one, but we're still fine. We're still golden with the group that we have. Now the other expenditure that we have, which is the really big one, is our data source, right? And so we are using I think it's like one of 4 professional options data streams, right? So we're getting real-time, up-to-the-minute options contract information, right? If you select fast mode, we're not using that, or you're not using that in this case. What you're using is a formula that gives you like an approximation of what the delta would be and all that. So for some people that's fine, but I've chosen to go the route of having like hard factual data. Okay. So whatever. So that's that. Any questions on ticker analytics? Okay, awesome. So again, kind of hard to detail this out without like, you can't see like what's happening here, which kind of sucks, but I'll maybe shoot a video on that while I'm trading tomorrow. Okay. R&D, super important, right? Is like, what are you doing on Sundays? You know what I mean? Your research and development. So in the other group, the way they teach it is like super laid back and like, don't worry about it. Like, where is it on the Bollinger Band? Where is it on the RSIs? Awesome. But then what ends up happening is, this, right? I've been 27 weeks on this trade, 25 weeks on this trade, 27 weeks on this trade, 27 weeks on this trade, 25 weeks on this trade, 22 weeks on this trade. What you will notice is, since I started with logical patterns, I don't have any recent ones, do I? They're all from the same period of time. And it's because the way that their core framework works is you could be in a trade for 24 months. And that's not something that was disclosed in the core. It was disclosed. So you guys may not realize this, but I buy a lot of the add-ons that they pitch if I think it can help us. Okay. So I buy those, sadly, with the exception of maybe one or two, they've all been a waste of money, but I keep doing it because I want to make sure that we don't miss anything. But in one of their add-ons, I forgot what the hell it was called, but I think it's called Fug It Up or something like that. And because apparently those two guys are they're in a trade that's gone like 19 months, right? And then they said like, it's totally possible. You could be 24, 26 months. I'm like, dog, that's 2 years. I'm not interested in being in a trade for 2 years. That's not, like, you didn't tell me this in the beginning, right? And so if you want to go the basic route, right, then, and you don't want edge, then you just do that, right? You want to go a little more advanced, you can just listen to what the scanner or the ticker analytics says. Or if you want to be educated on it and like really create a process, then this is where you spend a little bit of extra time and you do the research and development. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about what each of these things does. So Strategy Builder is essentially a screener. Okay. You can look at a watch list, right? You can look at a watch list, pick a ticker, right? And then you can say, you can just analyze, right? Sorry, this is, I apologize. So what this one does is this looks at what is happening with that particular asset, right? And you can look at like that strike. And so now you can actually create a strategy around this ticker that says like, okay, this would be a short put, right? Because you can pick it up here, or a covered call. And it's going to give you what the statistics are for that particular strike in the moment, right? So, $12 strike on May 8th, right? Well, sorry, expiration May 8th. And it also tells you could pick like number of contracts, right?
Do you want a shake?
Nobody, I don't want anything right now.
Want Coke or shake?
Huh?
You want Coke or shake?
No, I'm good on everything. I'll eat after I'm done here.
No, when you do eat, you want Coke or shake?
Oh, I thought that you were saying there's food here.
Yeah, there is.
I don't care, buddy. You guys eat whatever you want. I'm all good. Don't worry about me. I'm good. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. It tells you what your max profit is. It tells you what your collateral is. This is essentially telling you, like, if you were to take a loss on this, this would be like your possible loss. Okay. So, because like, okay, yes, you could lose max loss 3,489, but if you have a brain, right, this is called your CVAR, right? And so this is like, by best estimates, right, this would be like, you get upside down on it and, you get caught chasing or whatever, you're going to end up losing like $398, right? Your premium yield on this, right? And then you're going to have your Greek metrics and market data. Okay. So, what's the bid ask? What's your spread, your mid price, right? So your mid price is that. So like essentially you have 37 cents on your bid. You have 42 cents as your ask. That's what I was saying with your spread, right? The midpoint of those two is 40 cents. So like if you were freestyle, he would go for 42, but you might say, you know what? I'm not as greedy as him, right? But I also don't want to be a sucker and take 37 cents. So I'm going to go for 40 cents. That's what that decision window is about. Okay. And then this gives you what the extrinsic value is per share. Okay. So anyway, so you can kind of look here and you can figure out, you can build a strategy on Sunday. Okay. And you can look to see. Granted, this is all after hours, okay? So you have this. And then again, you have your covered calls on these as well. And you have to reanalyze. Now, Recon is your screener. Okay, so TradingView has a screener that I think you have to pay for. So we essentially recreated that. So if I go to my gold list, right, and now I pick and I say, okay, I'm cool with minimum analyst score being 70. We're going to get to these things eventually here. I want my minimum fundamental score to be a 2, let's say, okay? The tech rating minimum, I want it to be a buy, okay? And then, I don't know, maybe I say I don't care about RSI or Bollinger Band in this case. I can set a minimum price and a maximum price for the shares, right? Market cap, you can pick this as well, right? And then you can pick sectors, right? So you might say like, oh, you know what? I want communication. I don't want consumer. I don't want anything consumer. I want energy, finance. I don't want healthcare. I want industrial, real estate, technologies, and I'm good with utilities, okay? And then you can pick whether you want them to be above or it's required to be above the 200-day simple moving average, okay? You hit run recon, okay? And then you're going to get your results below once it's finished. And then you can sort by results. So you can pick Bollinger Band first, RSI, or highest analyst score. Sorry, just waiting on this. Maybe I should have gone because it's scanning 45 tickers. But anyway, so once this finishes, we'll get the results down here. And then now so this is what I've been doing. Okay. What I've been doing is this is actually where I start my Sunday. So my Sunday, I come here and then I do scans against this. And then once we get the results, I probably should have done a smaller list. Yeah, just for the sake of time, I'm going to do a smaller list. Let me write this down though. So recon. Scan. All right. Here, let me do a refresh and we'll do a smaller list. So we'll go top 5. And again, I like 70. This is fine. This is fine. And let's run the scan. There it is. Okay, so we only get 2 results out of my top 5, right? So 2 of 5 tickers, all right? Now, what do I do here? So I look at this, right? And I see like, okay, I look at the information. It's got an 80 for an analyst rating, okay? 83 for an analyst rating. Right now, they both have strong buy and buy. Now, remember, when you sell a cash secured put, one of the things that everybody says, no matter what group you're a part of, is you gotta make sure you're okay with owning the stock, right? Like that's kind of like the number one prerequisite, right? So we look at this and we got a great analyst rating, right? We've got a solid technical rating. So essentially what this is doing is this is taking a basket of, I think it's 64 technical indicators, right? And those technical indicators give you a score, right? And it gives you a strong buy, neutral, sell, strong sell, okay? So right now you got buy there. You look at your market cap. This is a $4.8 trillion company. This is a $587 billion company. And then you have your fundamental score. These are great fundamental scores, right? So now what I do is I go like this. I check these off and then I add it to my hit list, okay? So for me, I'm sorry, I'll do this again just so you can kind of see that because I did that kind of fast, right? So you can add it to a watch list, right? And that's fine if you want to do that. What I do on Sundays is I add to my hit list because on Monday, the first thing your boy's going to scan is the hit list. That's the first thing I scan is my hit list. Because basically I already did the work on Sunday. So I might have 10 tickers in here at that point, right? So normally here I'd say, well, 2 tickers is not enough. And then this is where I would expand the search into my bigger watch lists, right? So I'm not going to do that just for the sake of time because my lunch is here and I do want to eat at some point today. But but I go through this process through my tickers, my watch lists, right? And then I just keep adding to my hit list as I go along, right? Now, I'm going to skip forecast for a second because I want to come back to that, right? But for others, right? Like if you haven't already done this when you're creating your watch lists, right? Then you actually want to come over to the fundamentals area and you want to spend a little bit of time looking at fundamentals, right? Because you want to have an understanding of what the company does, right? What's the fundamental score, right? Like essentially, what's their cash flow look like? What's their income look like? What's their balance sheet, sector, right? Like what's their competitive balance, right? What are analysts saying? So 5.0, right? You have your score breakdown here. I don't know, so again, there's a lot of information, and I've tried to create like a minimalist design for some of this extra stuff because I'm trying to give it all. And so some of the stuff sometimes maybe goes unnoticed. I don't know. But so here you can go through the breakdown and you can like really dissect this stuff. And then you can then add them to watch lists, right? So you could do that right here. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. No, I apologize. That's not right there. You should be able. No, I guess not. Let me write that down. I don't know why I thought I had it right here. Because you can look up individual tickers here. We need a way. Add watch lists. To. Hi, baby. Love you. Did they win?
Yes.
Oh, really? How do you play? Okay, no, that's fine. I'm on this call anyway. I just want to know. Sorry. Anyway, so now you have your fundamental score. Once you pick this ticker, if you come to technicals, it's already going to have preloaded that for you. Okay. And so here you can look at what's the SMA 20, SMA 200. What's the trend? Is it bullish or bearish? What's the historical volatility? What's your RSI at? You're at the 75, right? So if we look at this, right? Here, we'll expand here just for a second, right? And so, yeah, so, this being 100, this being 0 on the RSI, we're at the 75%, what I call the 75-yard line, right? Like when I talk about trading a lot, I go from like 0 to 100 in terms of yard line. A lot of my trading thinking comes from football analogies. And so we're on the 75-yard line here. Well, you know what? I don't know if I want to sell a cash secured put when we're on the 75-yard line. Why? Because it's got all this room to fill without breaking the trend again, right? So, this is important information. And there was something that I wanted to cover as far as Sundays are concerned is you have all this information at your disposal here through logical patterns, right? And then you have everything you learned from the other group. You still got to use your brain, bro. You can't just be taking trades blindly. If you're taking trades blindly, I know that's what they teach because they reduce everything to retard level. But I would just tell you, if you're doing that, you're kind of gambling. I'm not going to say you're gambling outright because I do think RSI and Bollinger Band, there is some edge there. But if you're just blindly taking those trades, then you're gambling. And I don't recommend that. I've never gambled on a trade and I never will. And so I highly, I would discourage you guys from that. But anyway, so this is your technicals section. You can actually collapse this if you want. So here you can see what the oscillators are showing. It's overbought, upper zone, right? If it's overbought, right, then that might not be the right time to sell a cash secured put. You wanna sell a cash secured put when it's oversold. Okay, so again, something to look at there. Here you have a Bollinger expected move. So this is your weekly expected move, your monthly expected move. Again, this is all stuff that you guys can be doing homework on Sundays because you can look. And so essentially right now, before the market is opened, right, what this is saying is the expected low is $48.19. The expected top is 52.94, or the expected high. For the month, this is what they're showing, okay? And then if you look here, this goes back to the fixed range volume profile, right? And this is, it's telling you what the weekly value area low is, point of control, value area high. This is, again, something we're going to discuss, hopefully, if we have some extra time today. And then it's going to give you what your monthly range looks like, okay? And so you could look at this and say, man, you know, I've got this kind of coincides, right? And so, you know, maybe I don't want to sell a cash secured put above $48, right? When I see this. All right. So you have that. Then you have your key levels. So this is your previous week high, previous month high, previous day high, and then you have the lows. You have your Bollinger Bands as well. These are all really important. This is all really important information, and it's important information for trading in general. Okay. But again, this is a kind of educational component, but this is important in general, but it's important because some of our patterns are defined by these levels. All right. So it's stuff that you want to know. I would not mess with naked value VWAPs, volume weighted average prices. I wouldn't mess with this right now. I would leave this alone. That's like a much higher level of education that I think is just going to be noise for you guys. Okay, so now you might look at this, right, and you say, okay, well, the weekly, this is what the weekly move is expected, and this is what the value area is. So now I might come here and I might expand here and say, you know what? All right, let me take a look, right? And I'm just gonna kind of show you how I look at these things. So the way I look at this, right, and because I can't draw a rectangle right now, is I look at this as all part of the same range, right? So like if I was looking on a trading view chart, I would do like a little rectangle like this, right? And I'd say, okay, all of this price action is kind of related. And so what I would do is I would actually get the first down candle after you broke out, and I would go like this, right? And I'd look at this and I'd say, all right, my real value area low based on this range is $43. My point of control is 45. My value area high is 49. So you've now broken above the value area high, right? This is pretty significant. What I would expect from an auction market theory perspective is that we would come and retest this value area high and then close above and continue to rally up, right? So if I was to look to sell a cash secured put here, then it would have to be requirement for me based on auction market theory. It has to be below 49, potentially below 45, right? So what, you know, in a bullish trend, what can happen, right? You break out of the value area, you retest the value area high, and you continue. The other possibility is you get rejected from the value area high and you're going to go to the point of control. So the point of control is the area where the most amount of volume traded from here to here. So this point of control, so if buyers were going to defend an area, it's going to be here, right? Because this is where the most amount of buyers, well, actually, I'm sorry, where the most amount of buying and selling took place. So this level would need to be defended. So I would love to have a cash secured put here, but if you sell a cash secured put down here when price is here, your premium is probably going to be ass, right? So you know, this doesn't look like a great trade to me, all right? But just kind of showing you the different areas, all right? But what we should probably do is we can look at top 5. We'll look at NVIDIA. We'll load the technicals because that was one of the ones that it was showing, right? So let's look at a realistic one here on a Sunday, right? Actually, hold on. I want to go back further. Let's take a look at what a 1 year looks like. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. So where are we at? All right. So we're at the 50-yard line. We're at the center point of the Bollinger Band. Okay. So we're at the 50-yard line. We're above the 200-day simple moving average. That's what this line is right here, right? And when I look at this, I'd say this is all like one giant range. So actually here, I'll show you again on the rectangle. The way I see this would be, oh shoot, sorry. Damn it, I messed that up. What's going on here, bro? Jesus. I don't know. It's not letting me pick it for some reason, I think. I don't know. Oh, it's because I'm on here. Sorry. I had it on the fixed range profile. So I would look at this and I would say, okay, this is my range right here. And you might say, well, why don't you go all the way up? Well, because I see that big, this big bullish candle as a breakout. So I would go to this wick right here. And actually, I would want to extend it to these wicks right here as well. Okay. So now what I would do is I'd say, okay, I want a fixed range profile of this like monster range, right? And I would take it to this candle right here. Right? And so now we've effectively broken out of this range. That doesn't mean that we won't retest it though, right? So now if I looked on, I don't know, let's just say on Monday, right? I think this was NVIDIA. I don't remember now. I think it's NVIDIA. So now let's just say that we gap down, right? And we come to this value area high. I'd be totally comfortable selling a cash secured put below 183 or whatever that is, 182, sorry. I'd be cool with that because, and I'll explain why. You might even say like, well, 190. Well, why? Because when you hit one of these levels, there's going to be a reaction. Now, nobody knows what that reaction is going to be, right? Like, is it going to bounce for a whole week or is it going to bounce for 2 days and then get below it? But now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, all right, look, you got to go 100 yards. You're at the 50-yard line, right? And my defense, statistically speaking, like I stop, our defense stops offenses 60% of the time at the value area high. But at the point of control, we stop offenses 90% of the time. Whatever the stats are, I don't know. Right. And so like, I'm good with that. Right. Like now this gives me edge aside from everything else. Right. And I also have the 200-day simple moving average. So when guys ask me like, what are you doing on Sundays? Well, this is kind of what I'm doing. Right? Like this is my process. And the problem is like you guys there's this big educational gap, right? And I get that that's an issue. But so, I want to I don't want to overcomplicate things, but I do want to start to educate you guys on like, this is literally the most important thing in my trading since the beginning is auction market theory. Forget about options trading. I'm talking about trading Bitcoin, like the hardest asset in the world to trade is Bitcoin. And this was my foundation. This is like, I built the house on this. All right. Okay. So, so essentially I look at this before I do anything else. All right. I think that's it for this technical area. Then you have your backtest section. This is, okay. So auction market theory is the most important thing to your trading. But you're nothing without statistics. All your edge comes from statistics, all of it. Okay. Understanding auction market theory is super important, right? But without statistics, it's like you're trading with blinders on. And so I don't know, whatever. We're gonna run a quick one here just because I don't think Ty or Suspense have ever seen this before. But so what this does is it lets you pick your watch list. It lets you pick the pattern, right? The days of the week that you want it to scan against. And then you have a look back period that goes anywhere between 1 year to 5 years. Okay. And then it's going to back test this pattern against this watch list for that period of time. And it's going to tell you literally how many of them you would have won. Okay. So that now you don't take my word for it. Like D's early on was like, bro, but what is the pattern? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you. And I was like, but you can back test it all you want. Right. Because that's my proprietary edge. That's my proprietary logic. I don't know. I guess if we're never going to sell it, then maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. But like in my mind, I had thought like, well, I don't want to tell anybody that because like I want to sell memberships to this because there's so much value here. But if we're never going to sell it, maybe it doesn't matter anymore. But okay, so it just did a 1 year back test. You had 1,230 trades on this watch list using this pattern with your entry day as Mondays for the full year. Okay. So now it's going to tell you your total trades. What was your global win rate? So essentially, how many of those of the 1,230 closed out of the money on Friday using my pattern? Okay. Take a step back. You know, the patterns are these are setups that I used to trade on Bitcoin. Okay. Modified for options, essentially. So how many of them closed out of the money that first week? Essentially, you open the trade on Monday, the trade, and the expiration date was set for Friday. How many of them on Friday were you out of, and you just got to keep your money plus the premium, the profit, right? So 81.1%, 81.8%. Now, recovery win rate is, it assumes the wheel process, right? Which is you sold the cash secured put on Monday. On Friday, it was in the money. So it's that, whatever you want, that 20% or that 19% of those trades that on Friday were in the money. And so you had to roll it. And so then what I did was I created a recovery protocol, right? Which is essentially just rolling until it closes out of the money, right? 94.9% of the 1,230 recovered fully where you got out, okay? And you say, damn, bro, that's amazing. You know, like when if you talk to a trader and you say, bro, I have a 95% win rate, 94.9% win rate, they'd be like, there's no way, it's impossible, right? That's the nice thing about options trading. But you also have to understand that out of 1,230 trades, 94.9% means that you had 161 trades that you got assigned on, all right? And I think everybody here has been assigned at a certain point now, maybe other than suspense and tie. And so, you know, like, man, when you get assigned, sometimes it is doggy, boy. Like it's not, you know, you saw some of mine, right? 27 weeks. And so if you only use Bollinger Band and RSI, then yeah, you could be in a trade for 30 weeks like me, right? Which sucks. And that's why using the site, I think, is so important. But anyway, so that's that. This tells you what your average yield was. So like, you know, the target is 1%. Well, if you just took all 1,230 of these trades, you would have averaged 0.73%, which if you took that annually times 52, that means you would have made on your money 38%, just shy of that 37.996. If you told anybody that in an investment, they'd think you were a liar. Okay. Because like, just to give you an idea, you know, I don't think there's too many people here that are in business, but like, if you look to buy a business, if you can make 10% net annually, that's a really good business. That's like a really good business, right? Here, you're talking about, I don't know what the hell I just said. I think it was like 38% or something like that. Okay. Okay, and then, so now we can expand on this just so you guys understand. So this is signal count by ticker. So, because again, you're doing this based off of the watch list, right? So now you can go and you can look at the tickers and you can see, okay, like which tickers gave me, this is what my brother-in-law does. So I'm going to share this with you. So what my brother-in-law does is he sorts by recovery win rate of 100%, right? And he'll sort by here too, right? Like just the raw win rate, which is your global win rate. And then, so he'll do this, right? And then, so like, he might say like, okay, I'm actually going to pick everything that has a 90% or higher on global win rate, all right? So now he's gonna select those off, right? And he's gonna add this to a watch list. And then I'm just gonna do this with you live, okay? So I'm gonna just, you know, live test, all right? So you can kind of see how this works, okay? So now he'll come back and he'll pick live test here, right? And he's going to rerun this scan. This is going to happen instantaneously because since you did the previous scan, the results are cached. So you don't have to sit here and wait again. So now your recovery win rate is a 99%. He's going to come back here now and he's going to sort by 100%. And then he's going to go ahead. And then he may just kind of either add it to his hit list, or he'll...
I'm going to my friend's house across the street.
Wait, what's gonna happen with me though? I text you when I'm done?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a burger there for you.
Okay, I'm very hungry, but I'll eat after I'm done, baby. I love you. Okay, so then now, create new, and then you might say refined live test. And I don't know, we can maybe make this process better. But this is what my brother-in-law does. And he's the reason why early a lot of the things would break, because he would do these insane scans, right? So now, again, refined live test. And so this is going to give him annually, right? 224 trades, right? And then now look what happened to his yield, right? So your yield, your premium, right? The average went down, right? So, but now you can start to really see, like, look, how many trades was this, right? What was the average yield? What was my trade distribution on this? So 7 weeks. So like now you can say, like, look, bro, I'm only going to trade this, right? I'm only going to trade this, you might say, right? Or you might say, like, look, this is going to be my number 1 or my number 2 list. But so by doing research and development and doing it in this method, or you don't necessarily need to do it in this order, right? But you wanna find the process that works best for you, but you gotta be doing this. If you're not doing this, you're just like you're blindfolded, dude. You're blindfolded. Again, you could trade RSI and Bollinger Band all you want. Okay, I'm just telling you, you're gonna be in a trade for 27 weeks at some point. Eventually you're gonna be there, right? So now, what is the thought process here? Why did I create gap weeks? Well, because if I only trade this, that means there's gonna be 7 weeks in a year where there's no trade. Well, that doesn't work for me. I want to deploy my capital every week. So that means I have to add to this list. I have to start to close the gap, right? Makes sense? Average trades per week is 4.9. So that means that every week, at least 5 of these gave you a trade, all right? That's your breakdown period. Trade history, you can dig in here and you can look at all this information, right? Like, what was the probability out of the money on these trades? Well, why is that important? You might say, like, well, why do I need all this data? Well, this data is going to make you stronger. Why? Because when you look at this, you might say, like, damn, bro, like, what was the minimum probability out of the money on these trades? 70%. So remember when I showed you scanner and ticker analytics, I showed you that there were filters that you could refine down. So, and probability out of the money was one of those. So maybe when you're looking for trades, you look for a 70% as your minimum and don't deviate from that. Or you might look at delta and you might, say, like, well, okay, I want to look at delta, but delta's kind of like, I got a 0.3 here. Like, I don't know, like, that's a little harder to work with, but whatever. So you can look at this, the information's here. I built all this out and all this data is real. This is not, because there's other sites that, well, there's no site that does what this site does, but there are sites that sell data, right? But that data is like formulas. It's not like, or there are approximations. This is like the data, like this is like the real information. There's no approximation here. Okay. So that's your back test. And then I'm going to take you to MS Labs. You guys do not have this. You do not have this yet. So this, everything I do in my life, I break it down into 3 things. I have foundation, framework, execution. Literally everything I do. Like, it's actually, I even manage my family this way too, which probably is not good. But anyway, so I already told you my foundation is auction market theory. Okay. My framework is something called market structure. So market structure is a beast. But so, and I say a beast because it's just another part of education, but I did want to cover this because this is important to me on Sundays. But so market structure is essentially what is the trend, right? And how do you determine what the trend is? Well, market structure tells you that. Do you have higher highs and higher lows, right? So like within the range, are we continuously putting in higher highs and putting in higher lows? Or are we putting in lower highs and lower lows? Right? So higher highs, higher lows means that the top is higher than it was previously and the low is higher than it was previously, i.e. you are trending up bullishly, right? If market structure, bearish market structure would be lower highs and lower lows, right? And so then essentially that's telling you that you're in a downtrend. So I'm going to show you this. Eventually I'm going to give you this, but this is still in process. But essentially what this gives is I'm in the process of creating an additional pattern for us that would be solely based on market structure. I don't know if that's going to be possible. I shouldn't have done 5 years. Oh no, never mind. And so I'm still working on this. You can see the win rate is insane, right? This for me, like I said, was my framework, right? The problem is I haven't been able to find a way for us to actually make money off of it. So I can tell you, I can almost guarantee that you won't lose, but I can't guarantee you that you're going to make much money off of it. So it's worthless right now. But what I would say is when I created the original patterns, the same dynamic occurred, right? Because I started off with, okay, these are the patterns I used to trade, right? And then it was like, oh yeah, but you can't make money on options trading just on premiums like this, right? So then it was like, okay, how do I keep it as safe as possible, utilizing those patterns for edge where we can still make money, okay? And so this is going to be the future. I would tell you that's my hope. But what I would tell you is that at the very least, this will be combined with the patterns, right? So I'm going to find the correlation between market structure and the patterns. And so now when you take a trade, you're going to be able to say like, oh, wait a second, I'm in a bullish trend. And that bullish trend on this time frame, because if you notice, I've got 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, daily and weekly. Because there's different market structure for the different time frames. So like, for example, like if you can imagine, right, on a 1 minute time frame, you might be bearish, but on a daily, you might be bullish, right? So what that means is on the daily time frame, you're making higher highs and higher lows. But on the 1 minute, you like intraday, as they call it, you might be in a pullback, right? And so the 1 minute right now is bearish, but it's going to end the day bullish, right? So I'm going to find the correlation for us. And then I'm going to look to combine that with the patterns to make them even more bulletproof. But I would also like for there to be a trading pattern that we could do off a market structure, because you can already tell that the win rate's crazy. The number of trades is solid, right? But we need better premium to come out of here. So this is experimental right now. You guys won't see this yet, but it's coming. On that note, I would actually like to come back here because one of the things that I did not disclose is that I have added market structure here. So I'm going to take out this fixed range profile and I'm going to show you this. Okay. So this is an indicator that I built. I actually paid $3,000. I didn't build this myself because I wasn't, at the time, I didn't have the ability to be able to create indicators on my own. Now I can. And so I paid a developer $3,000 to create this for me because, again, this was the second most important thing to my trading. So I'm going to show you this for now. I don't know if you guys can see this yet. I don't know if I made this public facing yet on charts. Or maybe I did. I'm not sure. Oh, no, it's admin only. Sorry, it says admin only. So what this shows me is what the actual market structure has been doing, right? So it tells me that, or actually here, let me zoom out real quick. So as you can tell this is Robinhood. Actually, you know what? Let me write that down because when we're in a chart view, we need to be able to see what the ticker is. Chart view ticker. Notification. Yeah, we need to know that. Okay. So you can tell, in 2025, Robinhood was just ripping, right? You're in this bullish trend, right? You're making higher highs and higher lows. Each one of these is a break of structure, right? So this is a bullish break of structure. This was your swing high. This was your swing low. You took the high, right? When you take this high, you now have a new swing high. This was your swing low. You came down, you gapped up, you had another break of structure that makes this the new swing low. And so essentially higher highs, higher lows until you see this change of trend right here. So this is a term that, here, let me see that a little better. I'm sorry, that looks so tiny. Again, I'm still in the process of building. So you had a change of trend here, right? So now what that means is you've now gone from bullish to bearish on the daily time frame, okay? And you remained bearish throughout, right? So you're continuing to make lower lows and lower highs until you get to this area. And so this brings me back to my auction market theory. And I would look at this and I'd say, okay, when I talk about a range, right, there's the market structure range as well, right? And I say, okay, so we broke down here, right? I want to know what the value area is for this range. It's because what just happened? You just had a bullish break of structure, which is a change of trend. So you just now Robinhood is bullish, right? This is your swing low. This is your swing high. I would tell you that if you were going to sell a covered call, right, you better be careful. You know, $93, right? You're now bullish. So maybe you don't want to sell covered calls on this asset. Instead, you want to look for cash secured puts, right? So, but we're going to build statistics around this. And so you guys aren't going to have this yet because I need to get the statistics to know, you know, what it is that I'm telling you before you start trading it. Because I don't want anybody to say, oh, but I lost money because you told me this, right? But so anyway, so this is kind of the future. Okay, so that was R&D. Is there any questions about R&D? I know I just talked for a long while. I'm sorry. No questions about R&D?
I have a question about the forecast.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. So normally for forecast, it says Sunday forecast, but every time that I've tried to run that scanner, it doesn't give me any results no matter what pattern I choose.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. And then there's something that says next week preview.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't allow me to like click on it or
Yeah, because that's not a button.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a button. Sorry, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
The only thing that it says here that's like clickable is the proximity only, which I'm assuming that's, you know, something that's maybe within range.
Correct.
Or outside of the patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, am I doing something wrong that it's, or do I just need to be doing that on during the week?
No. Okay. So you're not wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. So what this is saying is it's saying that there's 0 criteria observed out of the 5 scanned, right? Because there's 5 tickers in here, right? For these patterns, right? And so that can happen because essentially what this is saying is that none of these tickers have triggered a pattern yet, because these are all the patterns, right? It is possible that could happen. It is possible that it could happen if price is already like maybe Friday it closed at a certain level, so it can happen, right? So, but mainly or usually what's going to happen is you're going to have proximity only, okay? So, I'm sorry, on a Sunday. So proximity only is actually telling you how close you are to this pattern triggering, right? So NVIDIA has a CFA that's really close right now, right? So this is built so that you can start saying like, okay, which ones are close, right? And so, yes, I have all the patterns here, but you might say like, look, I don't like trading that one. I don't like this one. Maybe I like that one. I don't like this. I don't like this. And I don't like that, right? What's up? What do you need?
Where's the one that makes it?
I can't see, buddy.
Where's the attachment?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't know, buddy. So, you know, so you could pick it and it's going to run it faster, right? So we're going to run with this for a second. But so these are all the ones that are close, right? So you can analyze it and it's actually going to give you the options data when last seen, okay, from Friday, okay? So, so it's going to tell you what the strike is, blah, 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 you know, so you kind of have that information. You have your chart down here if you want it. And then you have a chart here as well that you can expand. And then you can add this to a watch list from here. Now, what's the other use for forecast? Because it is called Sunday forecast. But what I have found that some people are using it for is they're using it during the week so that they can scan multiple patterns for a watch list. Because, you know, when you hit the scanner, you have to pick the watch list and you have to then you pick the watch list and then you pick the singular pattern that you want to check against. So Sunday forecast was not intended for this, but it actually is being used for this during the week. So like if you say like, well, I'm cool with any of these. So you might say like, oh, well, I want the, REM, which is the retail entry model, which is basically the Bollinger Band and the RSI, right? I want CFA and I want the pro macro trend, right? And I'm just going to run a forecast for that on, let's just say Monday. And then it's going to tell you which are all the ones that apply to it right then and there. But again, this was not designed for that. So what that means is like you might like still have to go to scanners and then do it again or whatever, because it wasn't meant for that. But the idea here was I wanted you guys to know what you're close on, like how close are we to the actual trigger level, right? So $144 was the closing price on Friday for Palantir. The possible trigger is going to be $143.61, and the possible strike is $141. Again, you click analyze, it's going to give you that information. It's going to tell you what the premium is, the delta, the gamma, the yield, and the probability out of the money. Okay. So that is how forecast works. And I apologize, I didn't go over it earlier. So it makes sense that you had a question here. But so that is why you're not getting anything here. I mean, if we were to go to a bigger watch list, I don't know. We'll do this. It might take a second. Sorry. But we'll run it. So retail entry model can give you a signal. So like that one can give you something. Pro macro trend can give you a signal on a Sunday. So like the possibility exists. It's just that we haven't hit Monday yet. And so there's going to be, I would say the lion's share of them are not going to give you a result. And so in my brain, I thought, okay, scanner and ticker analytics don't work because scanner and ticker analytics are deterministic, right? They are factual. They're rigid in their rules, right? And so it's like, it's either there or it's not, right? And I thought, okay, well, Sunday, I had several people telling me like, yeah, but how do I know like what to trade on Monday and blah, 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 right? And I thought, okay, what if we could do a forecast that gives you an approximation? It gives you like, hey, you're getting close, or like, hey, there might be something there on Monday. Keep your eyes peeled kind of deal. And that was kind of the genesis of this. I would say that it's, not perfect. Because I think that Sunday needs to be more than just this. Right. I think so. Forecast was built because in the beginning, I feel like most of you were like, just tell me what to do. And I feel like all of you have kind of evolved now where it's less of tell me what to do. And instead, like, like teach me how to fish and I'll go out and fish for myself. I feel like generally that's kind of where everybody has kind of is trending towards. Right. And so forecast is kind of like this perversion from before, if you will, but it still can be useful. But anyway, so in terms of proximity, my top 45, which is my wealth, health, and happiness gold list. I got Google, I got QQQ, I got iBit, I got PayPal, and then you would just look at it and say like, wow, PayPal's really close. It's trading at $50.44 when last seen, right? And so possible trigger is going to be $50.38. Possible strike is 50. So like we'll pop a chart here and let's just take a look at that, right? Like we're looking at $50.44. It's saying that there's a possible trigger, somewhere in this area, right? So now you might get your trigger, right? And then you might see like, man, when you go to run your scan later, right? You might see like, well, there's a strike at like $49. Right? Yeah, I feel good about this. Or no, I don't. I think this is a shit trade, whatever the thing is, whatever your determination is. But like the information's here, the tools are here to be able to analyze and do the homework. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so that is R&D. She was the only one that had a question. I'll just ask again. Any other questions? Okay, no. All right, Intel, super important, bro. This is really important. So Playbook, this has become like my bread and butter. It really has. It's become my bread and butter. Playbook is like the spawn of role intelligence and coverage. Because what I did was I got Freestyle Mike, and he did a Tesla trade. I think it took 18 months. He sold a covered call on Tesla, and it took him 18 months to get out of that trade. All right. And he was upside down for 18 weeks. Okay. Out of those 18 weeks, it took 16 weeks. Rewind. Out of the 18 weeks, 16 of those weeks, he was underwater on the trade. He still made thousands of dollars on that trade just out of the 2 weeks where he was good to go on it. Okay. So what I did was I took that and I made it into a case study, and I did a bunch of analysis against it. Right. And all the different things, because what he gave me was every single trade he took during that 18-week period, right? And I took every single one of those, and some of them are like really advanced activities that I'm not even ready for, okay? But it was important to learn from that. And then what I did was then I took that, and then I took my own micro strategy trade that I've been in now for, I don't even know, forever. I took my own micro strategy trade and I turned that into a case study. I think that's like 20 something weeks. Okay. Again, deep analysis, every single thing I've done in that trade, turned it into a case study. Then I took that stupid course that they did, not the course, but whatever, the little training they did. I took that and I got their case studies and I grabbed that. And then what I did was I said, okay, I want you to take, so actually, I'm going to pause for a second and I'll show you real quick what they taught in that class. The only thing they taught was the exit math, essentially. They essentially taught buy to close exit, which I had already built in here. We already had it. We've had that for at least 2 months, maybe 3 months now, which some of you may not understand. But so it's basically just a buy to close. Like essentially what they said was, and I'm just going to paraphrase, right? Which is what has been recommended here in the past, right? Essentially a buy to close exit would be, okay, I've been in this trade for, I don't know, let's say 10 weeks, and I made $1,000 on it, okay, in premium. And I got caught chasing because I sold a covered call below my strike price, below my cost, right? And so now price has gone above it, which means that I can't roll, or I'm sorry, I can't, like it's going to close in the money, so I'm screwed, right? So a buy to close exit that they teach is, it's going to cost you $300 to get out of that trade, right? Just to eat it. So now you're going to stay with $700 in profit, but you keep the shares. And what you're going to do now is you're basically just going to start over again, selling covered calls again. That's essentially what it is. Now what I did was like I said, months ago, I looked at what about a buy to close exit for the campaign or for the leg, right? So like maybe you've been rolling, right, on this leg, right? Or your current roll, right? Or the current leg, you made $160. If you close it right now, it's going to cost you $80. But when you look at the chart, you're like, ooh, man, I don't like it. It looks like it's going to go in the money. So you know what? I'm going to eat the $80, right? But I stay with $80, right? So essentially that's what the buy to close is teaching. So anyway, so I took all those, I turned them all into case studies. And then what I did was I said, okay, I want to see every single activity that took place. I looked at each of them, and then I basically I threw away a bunch that I think don't apply to us. And then I took some others and I shelved them. I kind of put them on the shelf, and I say, okay, these are like, we need to come back to these because I don't think any of us are ready for them yet. But then I took the other batch and I said, okay, these are all doable right now, right? Like they're not too high level and they're really useful. And I said, okay, so deterministically, this is what our playbook is based on all the really crappy things that can happen, based on all these case studies, right? So I think I've covered pretty much everything bad that can happen to you, okay? And then what do you do when that happens, okay? And that's your playbook, okay? So you come here and it's just going to look at all your open positions and it's going to give you a recommendation. It's going to give you, based on the playbook, what the recommendations are, right? Right now the market's closed, so you're not going to get anything here. But normally you would get like, it's going to actually like think for a second, and then it's going to give you like a little expanded view here, and it's going to tell you what to do. Oh, there it is, right? Okay, so you would see something like this: no at or above strike credit rolls on the current chain. And then not just that, I also explained to you why. Okay. Now Dee's found one that was contradictory. I've now fixed that. So anyway, so it kind of gives you the explanation. This is really good, but I'm going to tell you what I said, the same thing I said earlier, which is you need to use your own brain. Okay. I don't have enough weeks with this to know where the issues are. Dee's pointed out an issue, I fixed it, right? So you got to use your brain. This is not designed, none of this logical patterns is not designed for you to just follow the instructions and not think for yourself, right? That's just not what this is about. Eventually maybe it can be, I don't know, but right now, there's still we're still all learning kind of together. I just I've been trading for a lot longer than everybody. So I have a lot more trading experience than everybody in the group. And I've just taken it upon myself to build this out, right? So but anyway, so playbook is huge, really, really, really important. But again, use your brain. And if you find an issue, come down here, like I said before, and make sure to let me know, kind of like how Dee's has been doing. I built this in for old man eyes because I was like, bro, we need to have bigger text. I think eventually, I don't like this, to be honest. Like, I don't like this selector. I'm going to change this eventually, but I'm thinking about applying this to the whole site because I know that we do have some older guys here, and I think our vision is probably getting worse, not better. So I'm going to be applying this eventually other places. So this is playbook. Is there anything else I want to talk about playbook? It's going to give you the strike, the rolls, adjusted basis, premium collected. It should be telling you how much you're going to make, etc. But the market's closed right now. Roll intelligence. So roll intelligence, we'll rescan. But so roll intelligence is, I think, still really useful. But again, you have to use your brain. It utilizes the playbook, and it utilizes something that I've come up with based on Tesla, which is Chill, Standard, and Mad Max. Okay. Chill is more like laid back options, right? So you're looking at taking longer positions, even up to a leap. So, like a year-long trade for you to dig out of your positions, right? So this is Geo. Let's look at MicroStrategy, actually, so you can see, because this MicroStrategy trade sucks. Why does it suck? I'll explain. Well, it scans. So my original strike price was $285, and it's trading at 177, so not very good. My current strike is 175, which means that it's in the money on me. Okay, premium collected over however many weeks it's been is $2,000. Okay, if I was to close it right now, okay, it would cost me $3,375. I would be upside down. My cost basis right now is $264. Now, if I look at Chill, right, got to give it a second. Okay, so now it's gonna gray some of these out because there's no trades that make sense here, right? But I could take any one of these options, right? So I could do a 12-month leap, right? The new strike would be 290, right? So that's important, right? Because remember, I got to sign at 285. So if I wanted to, I could do a 12+ month leap, right? That would save me on this position. But I'd have to go to September 17th of 2027. Man, that kind of doesn't sound great to me. But if I wanted to really play it safe, if I wanted to just be super chill, right? I could do this. I'll make $165. I'll keep all my original premium, right? And I would make $5 a share when it gets called away. Okay. So what that tells me is my new leg premium is going to be $3,554. This is essentially what I would make by September of 2027. So if I just said like, listen, bro, I can't afford, because like if I was to lose the shares, I would lose like, I don't even know. It's like a lot of money on this. It would be staggering, right? Like it would be an enormous loss for me. But I think it's like $12,000 or something like that. But if I just wanted to say like, look, I just want to get out of this trade, I don't care when, and I don't want to lose any money, then I could do this, right? And so it's going to give you what your chill scenarios are. This is called a stock repair spread. This is part of the new playbook. This is advanced, and I'm not ready to teach you guys this. So right now, don't even mess with this. You have to have margin on to do this anyway. So you can't do it if you wanted to. But this is actually something that we need to discuss on a future call. I need to teach it to you guys, and then you all have to make a decision whether or not you want to turn on margin. But this is the one of the best ways to fix a position that you got caught chasing on. Okay. But whatever. So I'm not going to teach it now though. You can look it up if you want, a stock repair spread. You can study it if you'd like. And then if any of you do, I would love to get input from you. Because again, I'm still learning. But so anyway, so that's chill. Standard is, this is what it's going to give you. Standard is just going to be standard recommendations. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
About this.
Yeah.
So this viable 12-month sleep for 9/17. This may be a dumb question, but is that weekly rolls? It's recommending that you do this weekly at that strike. Is that
No.
what that's saying?
No. What
Okay.
that's saying is you're going to sell an option contract literally for September 2027. So like you're
Oh,
going to go,
okay.
like
Just
when
one.
you scroll, huh?
Just one then.
Yeah. You're going to just fast forward on the options chain in Thinkorswim until you get to September 2027. And then you're going to pick that day, which was the 17th. And then you're going to pick that strike, which was 290, and you're done.
Mhm.
Like you don't even have to look at
Okay.
it. Like if you said like, bro, I never want to option trade again. I just never want to do this again, blah, blah, blah. You could just do that. And in 2027, you'd be done. You'd take your money and you're out. But you got to
Okay.
wait till September of 2027. I kind of don't want to do that right now. That might be the best bet for me because I got caught chasing,
Yeah.
So, so really that applies for me anyway. It really applies only if I get caught chasing. Otherwise I want to keep doing weeklies.
Okay.
You good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right. So, standard, right? It's going to give you whatever the standard is at the moment. And then Mad Max is like crazy aggressive. Like if you just want to be a maniac, right? Like you're just like, I'm going to do the aggressive stuff, right? This is like, I'm in a covered call, right? So here's stock spread. So, this would be a stock spread. So it's going to give you a different strike on this one. And, essentially your net credit is going to be $2,500, blah, blah, blah. Your probability out of the money is only 30%. So again, bold move. But so it's going to give you the bold moves here. So right now, this is the only one I have on this trade, but for others, you're going to see more there. Okay. That's going to be your decision window. You have a deep analysis, right? And so again, I try to keep things minimalistic, but there's just so much information. You can read through here. It's going to give you all this data. I would recommend that you guys learn this stuff. So it's going to give you simple, advanced. I think it gives you moderate in terms of the level of these kinds of moves that it's recommending. It gives you a verdict on what it is: best, viable, caution, avoid, right? So this is, all the things that you have there. That's your deep analysis. My gosh, I'm so dizzy. I'm so hungry. My gosh. You have a chart that you can pop up here. I keep putting charts everywhere because I do think you need to be able to start getting used to looking at a chart and looking at it and saying like, ooh, this is not a good time to sell a covered call. Like, I don't even need to zoom in here. And I'm like, I don't want to sell a covered call here. Like I need to be careful here. Because it looks bullish, right? So like I say that now, right? But if I see that maybe we lose this low, like when we talk about market structure, right? Like what's happened here? You had a bearish break of structure here. This was your swing low. This becomes your new swing low and your swing high, right? So now you're within this market structure. So now let me take this off, sorry. So now I'm like, man, I don't know. I got a swing low and a swing high, and we're really close to this swing high. I'd like to see maybe a sweep of this for then now we start to put in a proper retracement, right? I also have these gaps, right? Okay, well, these gaps probably need to be filled. Okay, well, so maybe that is a case for a covered call. But like, again, until I look at the chart, I just don't know that stuff. And some of you may not even know what the hell I'm talking about right now, and that's all right. But we've got to get you guys there. You got to get learned on this stuff because it's important. So anyway, so that's chart. I don't have any roll candidates. Exit math we already talked about, and then history is going to kind of give you the history of everything that you've done so far. That's that. Coverage is if you've been assigned shares. Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm sorry. Roll intelligence this is kind of important. I don't have any right now, but if I was in a cash secured put, I'd have a selector for CSP here. This is just covered calls. Okay, so don't forget that you have that there as well. Okay, so coverage. So basically, are you in a covered call or not? No. So if you're not, right, then you've got to analyze this, right? And now what this is going to do is it's going to look at the stock price, the number of shares, your cost basis, what your premium is, what your break even is, right? And then it's going to give you some recommendations on covered calls, right? So this is for you to look to see if there's a trade that you might like. The first thing it does is it looks for patterns, right? If it can't find patterns, then this is freestyle. Again, remember I showed you freestyle earlier. Okay. So, so you can look here and you can just you can look at this and say, well, you know, what's the probability out of the money here? 61%. And when I looked at my back test statistics, it was like, man, I can't take anything that's like worse than 70. So maybe I don't want to do this, you know? And so it gives you what you gain. And these are the factors to evaluate, right? You can chart it, right? And you can say like, so now we expand here. And this is important because you see here, observational candidate. It's telling you this freestyle pick would be a covered call on 950. Are you comfortable with that? I don't know. You got to make that decision, right? But so I'm giving you all the tools. I mean, bro, honestly, like this website is sick, bro. Like if you know what you're doing, it's crazy the amount of information that's on here. But again, like it might be like trying to, you know, drink water out of a fire hose. I don't know. You've got to pick which things you want to focus on, right? And go learning. And you might say like, look, I'm cool with R&D. I'm cool with maybe charting and like scanner, and that's it. No problem. So make that your thing. Master that. And then when you master that, you take the next thing. Decision window is again going to tell you this is what the scanner shows you. This was what I was saying. A ticker analytics. I can't show you that right now because it's after hours, but you can see here what your low and what your high is. What's your spread, right? And you can see like, okay, well the highest premium is 55 cents, right? And so then you can change it and take it all the way. And now what it's going to tell you is per contract. Maybe you say, well, I want to take 3 contracts. Okay, so and when I set my limit order for that CSP or whatever it is, covered call, I'm only going to go for 55 cents. So it tells you, okay, your yield is going to be 5.79. Your per contract is going to be $55. You're going to make $165. And then you make decisions. And then there's a refresh button here because, you know, when the market's live, what's happening is this may change, right? And so you got to be able to refresh and make sure that it's still there. That is coverage. I'm going to skip Coach's Corner. No, I'm not. We'll go to Coach's Corner. So what Coach's Corner is going to do is it's going to load all your closed campaigns and it's going to give you information. Okay. And so what it's going to tell you is, so your discriminating thresholds, delta is 96% of your wins have a 43 delta or lower. This is important, right? Probability out of the money, 96% of my wins have a 56.8% probability out of the money. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know that for me, I don't know that that would be significant for me. Gamma, 98% of the wins have 0.17. RSI, 95% of the wins have an RSI 41.3% or lower. Okay, that might be something you want to look for, right? For those of you that trade REM, maybe you say like, okay, I'm not taking anything that doesn't have this, right? What's working? Higher probability out of the money, cushion pays off. Clean exits have average probability out of the money of 66.8% at entry versus 46.2% on losses. A 20.5% point cushion, right? So you look at this and you say, okay, well, probability out of the money, that's important, right? What's hurting you? Higher entry delta correlates with assignment, right? So this is like another example where having bigger font would be amazing. So your assignment / loss campaigns opened with average delta of 0.54, while clean exit campaigns opened at 0.33. Again, so like the list goes on and on here. This is again where you study, right? Like you can look here, and this is all closed campaigns. So these are campaigns that are done and dusted, right? Now, this only looks at your trades. I have 72 closed campaigns. Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, you can also look by ticker here. You can also look by cash secured put or covered call. Okay. So like if you only want to look at CSPs, you can pick that, whatever you pick. All right. Now, right now, this is only using, these are mine. These are personal to me. But one of the things that I want to add, and this is why I would ask, that is if you switch to the import once we have it, the API import, and you consider switching at the very least to the Thinkorswim import, because what my plan is to have the system in the background scrape all of your closed campaigns and look at global data, right? So like, I don't know. So my probability out of the money statistic is 56.4, right? But what happens if we look at everybody's trades? So I only have 72 closed campaigns, but maybe as a group, we might have 600 or 500, right? I don't know. There's how many of us? I think there's like 8 of us. I don't know, because I don't know that Ty's trading yet, and I don't think Suspense is taking a trade yet. But so whatever, let's say there's 7 of us, right? And let's say we all have 70, right? So that's going to mean 500 trades roughly, give or take, right? So now when we look at this at the coach's corner and it scrapes all that data and it says, oh, you know what? As a group, your win rate is 98% if the delta is, let's say it's not 0.43, let's say it's 0.35. So then now you look at it and say, man, you know what? Moving forward, my filters are gonna be 0.35. So it's the strength in the group and the strength in the number of the groups. Wait, is that the right way to say that? Is the strength of the group and the group's numbers collectively, I guess is a better way to say that. So Coach's Corner is good right now. It's going to be amazing once we start scraping all the data. There's still, you can go into the settings and you can opt out. I'm going to allow that, although somebody told me I shouldn't, but I'm going to allow it because whatever, if you don't want it. Really, it's kind of dumb if you opt out because it's anonymous data. It's just looking at all the trade history. It doesn't say whose trade history is whose, right? So it's anonymous and it helps everybody. I don't know. Maybe if you opt out, then that means you can't see everybody, like the group's data. So that'll be the trade-off, right? Not to make it like punitive or anything, but it's just like if we're gonna make the group data stronger, then we need more people to opt in, I guess, to that, or not opt out, I should say. Okay, so that's Coach's Corner, and then finally alerts. So alerts is included in the $100 because it doesn't cost me any money. For you to have desktop alerts. What does cost money is text message alerts and email alerts. I literally have to pay a company to send that stuff out. So that's why it's $150 a month for that. I actually highly recommend this. I wouldn't do it yet. I would wait until I tell you guys go, because right now I'm still waiting to be approved by the company for text messages. But I would tell you, it's worth it, because what happened to me with DraftKings, I wish I would have had an alert that would have told me like, bruh, if you don't get your ass to the computer right now, you're going to lose $4,000. And that's the power of the alert. Since it's tied into logical patterns, it knows how much you stand to lose. And so when that alert comes through, it can literally just say like, there's $4,000 on the line, homie. You better stop what you're doing. And so a desktop alert is cute, you know, but if you're not at the computer, guess what? You're not going to know. So I wouldn't sign up for it yet. I would consider it, like strongly consider it once it gets approved by the text message company. Okay. Which I don't know. I'm hoping is next week at some point. But either way, I'll announce it in the group. But anyway, that's alerts. And there's all kinds of alerts. There's basically expiration guardian. That's the one I'm talking about. It essentially is looking at your expiration and it's guarding it. And it's telling you like, oh, that's a problem. Earnings proximity, an alert. Pattern observation. Basically, you can set it up so that it tells you when a pattern triggers. So like, let's say you're at work and you don't want to open up Thinkorswim until a pattern triggers. You can set up the alert and it'll tell you like, hey, these tickers have hit this pattern, you know, whatever. Price targets, you know, whatever. So, you know, your cost basis, whatever. You could do the same thing on watch list patterns, or you can do pattern observations for the specific ticker. Position status, blah, blah, blah. So you have all that. So that's Intel watch lists. I'm just going to like go over this super fast, but basically this is where you can manage your watch list. You can take things out, you can add to them. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Tutorial, you guys already know. Admin, account area. This is where you have to put your cell phone number if you want to get text messages, if you do get that plan. This is where you're going to be able to sign up for the API for for Schwab, for just the transaction data. I believe this is where you guys see your signals. You can change your password here. And then if you ever want to donate to the project, you have it here. As an additional donation that's separate from the subscription. You have your tutorial section. Here are all the updates. I know I do a lot of updates, so I'm so sorry that there's so much stuff in here. But if you ever want to go back and read some of it, you can. How we calculate, this is really important. This is how we calculate the weekly RORs, you know, your return on risk. So, you know, some of this may be different than how other people do it. Patterns, glossary gets started. And then under settings, I just did this morning before the game, is I went ahead and I reorganized the settings area by section. So you can come in here and there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. You know, Intel, there's some things you can choose. And so, you know, you might want to look at this. And with that said, I am done. I want to go eat, but if you have any questions, hit me.
Hello.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, I just want to say that Coach's Corner has been really good. It kind of gives you all of the details of stuff that you know, where you've gone wrong and how can you correct things. So Coach's Corner has been great.
Good. I'm really happy to hear that. Again, it's like drinking out of a fire hose, but like Coach's Corner, bro. Like research and development, Coach's Corner, you know, Intel, these are all things that like if you just spend an hour a day, or like if you just spend a little bit of time on your weekend and you dig in there before your family wakes up, you know, whatever, like it can have such a big difference, such a huge impact on the results of your trading. So no, I'm glad to hear that. That's great. Sandra, were you gonna ask something?
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say thank you. Yeah, Intel has been my jam. And that's where I live most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I would tell you master an area, right? But then don't just sit there, because you just saw how much stuff there is. So like master an area, be like, dude, I know this like the back of my hand. And then, so now whenever I have extra time, I'm going to go into research and development, or my Sunday process is going to be like, you know, I'm going to go into research and development and I'm going to like start doing this. And what you'll find is as you start doing it, it'll all start clicking, or you're going to run into problems that are going to be like, oh, you know what? I need to ask Paul about this. But until you start like, just like take the step forward, you won't know. You know?
In my coach's corner,
Yeah.
it says that there's 121 legs missing snapshots, and then there's also like a sync button. I go to sync that, but it never works for me, so it just stays at 121 legs missing snapshots.
Do you have all accounts listed, or do you have like a specific account? Oh, you gotta go.
It's just one account right now.
Hold on a second.
Same for me.
Same for you. Okay, so that's not working for you guys. Did you guys hit refresh analysis? No, I don't think that's
I'm
gonna
doing that
work.
now.
No, I don't think that's gonna work. Damn, the thing is, mine's already done. So now I don't even know. Oh, do you know what? Let me try Mike. Let me see what. Yeah, he's got no closed campaigns because I don't have his full spreadsheet. Yeah, it should be refresh analysis if I recall.
I
Because-
just did the refresh and it did nothing.
Yeah, same.
Bro, why is that not working for you guys, but it's working for us? Okay, let me write it down. Damn, that's such a bummer. Hang on. Oh shoot. Why would that be? I mean, you obviously have closed campaigns, so so can you know what? Do me a favor. Deez, can you send me a screenshot of that? Like, do a bug report and send me a screenshot, and then just kind of explain it to me. That way, I have a screenshot of what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? Because right now I can't see what it looks like. And you have all phases checked. You have all tickers checked, and you only have one account.
The all phases, CSP legs and CC legs, those aren't even options on my screen at the moment. So that's not even there.
Right, because it's a filter. Yeah, that's a filter. And you're using Thinkorswim, the statement import, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm just trying to think if there's like a step that I'm forgetting. Like if I hit refresh analysis, this is separate because this has to do with patterns. Okay, yeah, do a bug report for me, and then I'm gonna work on that. That'll be the first thing I do. I'll work on that before I work on anything else because I do think this is super important. I won't be able to work on it today, bro. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's just, bro, this is really good though. Like it's like really, really good. So like I hate that you don't have it. But this will be the first thing I do this week. Really quick, you asked me about tags earlier with the journal. So once we get tagging like fully in effect with patterns, then I want Coach's Corner to it's gonna backfill. Like if you wanted, right, you could go back to every single trade and you could put all the tags, right? Or you could just have your tags moving forward. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you insights based on the patterns that you've used. So that's where tags is going to come into play.
Yeah, it shows that there's 84 untagged campaigns on there.
Yeah.
Oh, so it says the same thing on yours.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's new. Like, so I've only tagged 6 campaigns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some things I have to change about tagging, so I kind of like just left it. But this is like the future here. But yeah, if you could send me the bug report, I will work on that. If you send me the screenshot, that'll be the first thing I do. Okay?
Working on it.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for everything, bro.
No worries.
Okay, and then again, I think we're gonna be approved for the text message alerts this week. I think. So if that goes through, I'll let you guys know. And then I would just tell you on your next month, you might want to change to the 150. Because I just think it's super valuable. But whatever. If not, you can always set alerts in TradingView. That's another way to do it. It's just that this one does the math, you know. Or maybe, I don't know, like maybe you find a way to design your own alerts. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I don't know. This was I did this because it was built into the site, but something to think about. Okay, any other questions? Or are you guys good?
Now we're good.
All right, I'm gonna go eat. All right, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'll do that
Enjoy your
tomorrow
lunch.
too. I'll do a video for my trades tomorrow.
Cool. Thanks,
Okay.
Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, peace.
Have a good one.
Later.
Bye.
Field one.